from all over the world and other, especially if it is well managed and structured and other. We'll go to those places and then derive a benefit in terms of knowledge, in terms of history, in terms of the exposure that they will get from such places and other. And then the anchor of this program has given us a very succinct example, which I want us to use as a kind of a leeway to understanding the issues at stake. That a nation as developed as America, with more than more than 100 years of a democratic and well-developed and articulate law, have not deemed it fit to begin to tax churches and mosques and the other different religious sects. Does not tell you that there is something somewhere? There is some wisdom in not really taxing the churches and
right
the
now, in
mosques,
fact, the movement in America
to begin to
and
pay
the consensus
some
in
of these
America,
taxes that
as well as in the developed nations.
Again, I have also said this again. I'm going to repeat it another. We should not begin to overgeneralize. The assumption that all churches and mosques and even the traditional herbalist people are very, very, for me, it's very, very wrong. Like I said, you can count on your fingertips the number of churches in this country and the number of mosques that you can say have a lot of liquidity under their traffic. And even if they do have this liquidity, which is not usefully deployed, I will want to insist that it is not the duty of you and I to begin to to begin to advise or to begin to impose on them a law that will make them begin to distribute this resource. In the sense that the members of the churches who contribute their tithes and then the offerings and all the different donations and all that should be able to hold their pastors and deacons and deaconesses accountable for whatever resources that they are putting to the church. And I am sure some of them do, even not too long ago, when one of the pastors that we have high esteem, that we give high esteem to another, but a private. I know of one or two persons in those churches who walked away from the church and said, look, we thought this was a man of humility. This was a man who we thought is going to husband our resources and prudently begin to engage in this kind of ostentatious consumptions. And they walked away, they went and then went to some other churches that they felt were able to accommodate. So what am I driving at? It is the responsibility of the members of those churches, of those mosques, and all those traditional religious homes and other to hold accountable their leadership if they are not already accountable. Secondly, when you see most well-organized churches and mosques and the herbalist home and other, they are already doing more than enough to improve the lot of their members and all the reality of the Nigerian city. They are building schools, they are building hospitals, they are world scholarships and other. The aged people in the society, those who cannot fend themselves, those who have medical challenges and other, they fund some of these activities and other. But you and I as elites, because we just sat at one pastor has bought a private jet, we begin to assume that all that they do is just to put the money of the church or the mosque or the traditional homes in their different pockets. And I don't think that is proper.
That is not my role here. My role here is to say that, look, as a Nigerian, I have to be pragmatic. I identify that Nigeria is blessed with certain natural resources, of which one is the religious aspirations as well as the religious affiliations of the average Nigerian. So and I'm saying that we should start to leverage. Listen, hold on. Let us start to leverage on this comparative advantage that Nigeria has.
The solid minerals in this country
what we are losing in this country. Hold on first.
So why the churches? Why the
fact that there is failure in harnessing one natural resource? Hold on. The fact
sports is not developed in this country. These are areas in which we can generate billions of dollars to fund government activities.
What I am saying is that, look, we all know that there are many aspects of our national life that is yet to be harnessed and appropriately exploited. This is one of them. And I'm saying that if there's excess liquidity in this sector, let us recognize it as a formal, viable sector. Let's empower that sector in a manner that will enable them to create jobs, invest in the jumpstart various aspects of the economy. Look, some of these organizations I will tell you in Nigeria are even more, hold on, please, are even more viable than some quoted companies in Nigerian stock exchange. And look, listen, please. And listen, it's because there are no record keeping in this country. For instance,
how did you get your conclusion?
Like I told you right now, there's no. I could get. Imagine I'm in Nigeria. I could get records of what's happening in Europe and other places. But in Nigeria here, even your Bureau of Statistics, your National Bureau of Statistics and all that does not even have records of data for what exactly is the amount of money that is being donated and given to religious organizations in this country. And I can tell you, it runs in billions.
I don't think that is
now,
true.
Look, hold on. The point I am trying to say, Kolawole, if you stop interjecting, let me make my point.
I go to some of the.
Kolawole, I want to listen, please, let me make a point.
There is no donation that you make to a church or a mosque in this country that. Especially the one that I have attended. Listen. That is not recorded. In fact, in some of these places are not. You have numbers assigned to you when you want to pay your tithes, when you give donations, and those things are meticulously recorded on a weekly basis.
We are both lawyers. So we know many of us as equivalent organizations, we know that in terms of, you will notice that even the CAMA, concerning Section COT that talks about, Section 607 that talks about annual returns, mandatorily only specifies certain aspects of details that it needs. It's silent about accounts. But thankfully, the Federal Financial Reporting Council, as the statute empowers it to regulate the accounting practices of even public interest entities like religious organizations. And now I'm saying that, look, it is time in Nigeria where we started to keep records. What my argument essentially is all about is that there is nothing wrong in these organizations actually paying taxes from the revenue they generate from donations of
for me,
members.
that would amount to double taxation.
It's not double because it's not the individual who is donating that is being taxed again. How is that double taxation?
Are already complaining of being overtaxed. It is double taxation in the sense that the members will pay their personal income tax.
That's the members.
If these businesses, if these churches or mosques and neighbor homes and other also set up businesses like microfinance, bakery and what have you, of course those businesses will pay their taxes. And if they also invest in projects and all that, the government, especially if you are going to build a church, for example, you are going to approach the town planning authority for approval, and you pay a certain amount of money before the building plan is approved for you. So all these
are they have exemptions under capital gains. Look, some of these religious organizations control very large real estates, and they have exemptions under the law for capital gains. It means that when they acquire, as long as they claim it is for the purposes that they are doing, they are advancing their religious thought or whatever, they don't pay. Government loses so much in that.
The town planner does not give to you a C of O. It does not approve your building plan.
Approval is different from capital gains.
What is
the cost of approval?
Taxes is not just about paying your personal income tax. It's all about money that you pay to government for services that you enjoy in the society.
Let's not deceive ourselves. I'm saying that if only 5% of what is being generated by way of excess liquidity in religious organization sector.
If the woman in Okeani,
it will be made available to the Nigerian government.
If the woman in Okeani, the woman in Oshodi,
have instantly in the place of you and I.
If the man selling cattle very close to us, they are also brought into the formal sector of the Nigerian economy, you will be amazed about the return that are going to get from some of those places. I am aware that millions of naira generated out of Okeani in Lagos State, and most of these women and traders don't pay their taxes. So it's not the
but they do pay their tithes and their donations to their religious organizations.
Of course,
I've told you that there is no other sector in Nigeria where Nigerians are actively participating. How many sectors will you find that Nigerians are actively participating on a day-to-day basis, weekly basis? It is only in the religious sector. There you find people making donations, giving to their creator out of their volition to want to serve. Now, I am saying that yes, the money does not go to heaven. We all know that. It's the volition behind what they are doing that gets to the Almighty Father. So they've given to the Lord. It is not the religious organizations that take that. It's the Almighty Father that receives that. But I am saying that which is material, the money itself, the raw cash,
but Femi is also forgetting
someone is asking a question.
Femi is also forgetting one.
So if that money which is given out of volition to the Almighty were taken by the Almighty, would you go to the Almighty and tell him?
You see, let's face it. Let's face the reality. That's why the basic principle is that render to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, render to the Lord what belongs to the Lord.
What the law says is that these organizations are registered as incorporated trustees.
It doesn't matter.
So whatever they are receiving is kept in trust for the people.
Let us not even reconcile.
Let me also emphasize
what is charity?
It would appear
what
to
is
me,
charity?
Before I answer your question, it would appear to me that Femi is assuming that all the funds that we have in those different churches and other actually belongs to the pastors, to the deacons, to deaconess, and to the imam in those places. And I would say that is not the truth. Because like you said, all these organizations are registered under the incorporated trustees. And if they are registered under incorporated, the pastor gets just only his salaries on a monthly basis. The other workers in the church only get their salary for which they pay their taxes. It will not be fair for you now to say money that comes into the churches as if they were private profit made by these church pastors and
we have to go. We're out of time and we need to hear from those at home. There are many comments here. So let's hear your closing statements and keep it, please, short and sharp.
Now, my suggestion to the Nigerian and those in charge of policy is that let's do away with the archaic laws. Let's conceive the idea of charity. Charity is that if you're engaged in charity, there should be some meaningful physical impact to everybody around you. And then let's empower these religious organizations to play their role as far as the economy is concerned.
All right.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in maintaining the status quo. for all these religious organizations not to pay taxes. I would think what the society required to do is to make sure for the members of those organizations to make the pastors or their leaders accountable for whatever resources that they have invested in them.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Tunde Kolawole, thank you for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
And Femi, thank you for coming on the show. Now, we have plenty of tweets. I'll just take a few because there's no time. Adebukola Oyewumi says, the man in support of the proposition should stop being legalistic and be realistic. The law justifies the exemption of these people. George Henry says the churches should be taxed because as it is today, they are all an enterprise the way they operate their own properties. At Yemia, or A Nation at War, says religious institutions should pay tax on profit-making activities. Shikina Oyemioke says, pro-fiscus. Religious organizations also enjoy infrastructure provided, thus should pay taxes. Isaac Abraham says, most churches are registered with their corporate affairs as business ventures, not charity organizations. Communion Affairs says, this Femi is mixing up issues. What is the excess liquidity? Who determines excesses? Atiemia says, why is this man shouting about liquidity? How is an institution's liquidity his business? I really can't take all the mails. There are plenty of tweets here and mails. I can't take them all. Sorry, let me just take this last one. Onowu says, most of the money is used by the native doctors or cowries coins, which are not legal tender. How can that go to government to collect tax from them? Well, thank you so much for letting us be a part of your life today till we bring you another edition of Face Off. Have yourself a good night. I am Neo Taegbe.